Hello my friends, welcome to another episode of your math class, and today we are going to be talking about rhombus and kite shapes. Now, the area for both of these shapes can be calculated using the lengths of their diagonals. Now, what I mean by their diagonals is these intersecting dotted lines that I have in this shape. So if you know the length of those diagonals, you'll be able to calculate the area of the shape. So the formula is a little bit different than the formula that we have seen most of the time. This one is area equals diagonal length multiplied by the other diagonal length divided by 2. Your rhombus or your kite shape is going to have labeled corners, and these corners are often going to be labeled with a letter. So in this case we see A, B, D, and C. Now the diagonal lines are the distance between A and D and C and B. Now the difference in calculating the area of these shapes is that there's going to be a little message given to you at the top of the sheet, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. Once you have the two diagonal lengths and you multiply them by each other, you divide it by 2. That is the same for kite shapes and rhombus shapes. Rhombus and kite shapes will always, no matter what, have their corners labeled. The diagonal distance between the labeled corners will be used to calculate the area of your shape. So one more time, just know that the distance from here to here multiplied by the distance from here to here divided by 2 is going to be your area. And that's the same for rhombus and kite shape. Now, we also have to talk about how you calculate the perimeter for a rhombus shape. So let's just go ahead and do that first. It's just like any other shape, like the composite shapes you've done, the triangles. It's just the total distance around. And we have to keep in mind these little dashes and these little lines, all right? I'm gonna grab a calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and calculate number 1. The first shape that we have is a kite shape, and the question is asking us to calculate the perimeter. This is pretty simple for us to do. We are going to see that there is 16 centimeters and 41 centimeters, and that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. 2 sides are equal to 16 centimeters and 2 sides are equal to 41 centimeters. So it's pretty easy. I'm going to do it the multiplication way instead of the repeated addition way this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 16 multiplied by 2. I'm going to put it in brackets because that's helpful for me. Plus 41 multiplied by 2. Then I'll get my answer. So I know that 16 multiplied by 2 is 32, and 41 multiplied by 2 is 82. And now I just have to add those two numbers together. My answer is 114. I want to make sure that I include my units, which are centimeters. So I'm going to write centimeters on the bottom there. The next shape I have is a kite shape again, but this time they're asking me to calculate the area. Now remember before in the video when I told you that they're going to give you the diagonal distance between two shapes using the letters at the top of the question? Well, this is an example of it. It says from A to C. Now when you see two letters together, that means the distance between them. It says here from A to C, so A all the way to C, the distance is 19 meters. And from D to B, which is this distance from here all the way to here, is 5 centimeters. Now, do we remember our formula? So our formula is area equals parallel length, which is this, multiplied by parallel length, which is this, divided by 2. All right, so I have my first parallel length, which I know is 19 meters, and then I can multiply that by my second parallel length, which is 5 meters, and then I can divide that whole number by 2, and then I can get my answer. So 19 multiplied by 2 ended up being 95, and my answer, 95 divided by 2, is 47.5. It's in, oh no, look at this. This one says centimeters and this one says meters. Now I know that I made a mistake when I was creating the question, but let's just scratch that off and make sure that you pay attention to the units that things are in. 47.5 meters, and because it's the area, I have to make sure that I put the 2 square symbol. All right, so our last shape is also telling us to calculate the area here. So we have some information they've given us that the distance from J to L is 100 millimeters, and the distance from M to K is 57 centimeters. Right away I'm going to change that to millimeters because I know my chart of metrics, and I'm just going to write 750 because I add a 0 when I go to the right. And now I can go ahead, now that my units are in check, I can go ahead and I can calculate my area. So I know that it is, my area is parallel length multiplied by parallel length divided by 2. So my first parallel length is 100 millimeters. My second parallel length is 750. And it is going to be divided by 2. And my total for this kite's area is going to be, oh, that's a big one, 37,500 millimeters, because we changed it to millimeters squared. So our next shape is this large composite shape. And when you look at it, you can see right away that it's 2 rhombus shapes. And they've already given us our diagonal lengths from one side, A to C, B to D, E to G, and F to C. And they've given us all of that. So what we have to do is we have to find out the area of shape 1 and the area of shape 2. So I'm going to go ahead and label my shapes really quickly so that I don't forget, and I'm going to start with area of shape 1. So I know that my formula is equal to parallel length multiplied by parallel length divided by 2. Oh, not parallel length, I'm sorry, diagonal length. So I know that my area is equal to diagonal length multiplied by diagonal length divided by 2. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in those numbers. So I know that my first diagonal length, E to G, is going to be equal to 7.5 centimeters. So I'm going to write right there 7.5 centimeters. And now I'm going to multiply that by my second length, which is F to H, and that is 5 centimeters. And I'm going to divide that total by 2, and my answer ends up being 18.75 centimeters squared. All right, let's find out my shape of our area of shape 2. So that's my first area. So I'm going to calculate diagonal length multiplied by diagonal length divided by 2. So my first diagonal length is from A to C, and that is 10 centimeters. And from B to D is 6.5 centimeters. And I just have to divide that all by 2. And my answer for this one ends up being 32.5 centimeters squared. And now to find out the total area, I just have to do what I do in any other composite shape, and that is add the 2 together. So I'm just going to put a big addition sign right here. I'm starting to run out of room, so I think I'm just going to put a little arrow right here, do some problem solving of my own right now. And I'm going to add 18.75 plus 32.5. And my answer is 51.25 centimeters squared for the total area of this composite shape. My last and final shape is a perimeter calculation, and what I have is another rhombus shape, and I have all of the sides equaling the same, which is all rhombus shapes. It's basically like a square parallelogram, which you'll read in your notes. And all the sides are equal to 7.65. Now I could do repeated addition if I wanted to, and I could have gone perimeter equals 7.65 plus 7.65 plus 7.65 plus 7.65. But because I know that all 4 sides are the same, and if I multiply it by 4, I'll get the same answer, I'm just going to go 7.65 multiplied by 4, and I'll get my answer. of 30.6 meters. And I don't put a square again because I'm calculating the perimeter. So I know that the entire distance around my shape here is going to be 30.6 meters.